Hello, I'm Dean McKnight, and I'm here for another program of Taking Back Our Neighborhoods, sponsored by Operation Our Town. Today we're going to focus on education, but first I want to talk about the mission of Operation Our Town: to facilitate partnerships between community businesses to fight drugs and crime through proven law enforcement, treatment, and prevention techniques. Nowhere is this more important than in our school districts. Today, focusing on education, we have two guests. Our first is Dr. Thomas Otto, Superintendent-elect of the Clearfield Area School District. And right after that, we're going to talk to David Crumrine, Dr. David Crumrine, Principal of the Central High School Spring Cove Area School District. We'll begin with Dr. Thomas Otto. Doctor, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Your big smile today, that's good.
Yes, it is, that's good.
Tell me,
good day.
Operation Our Town has played such an important role in many of our lives. How does this affect you and your school district?
Well, it's affected us in many ways. First of all, with the visibility that Operation Our Town has created with the police force and helping the police force, we've been able to benefit from that visibility and their diligence. They've contributed funds to us educationally, and we have a specific educational committee that's been funded by Operation Our Town, and we've received some benefits from that. Local school districts under the direction of Dr. Brian Toth, who is not able to be with us today, he's the superintendent at Bellwood, have been able to get together once a month and share our concerns and solutions and collaborate with each other. And that has been a big benefit that we've experienced that Operation Our Town was a part of getting started.
That's terrific. So many times we think about Operation Our Town and the fact that when we contribute to that organization, that the money is just used to directly fight drug abuse. But in your case, it's used to the educational process and the prevention process, which may be even more important. Specifically, are there some programs that you've introduced because of Operation Our Town? Yes,
there definitely have been. We've been able to receive some money to continue our after-school programs. And after-school involvement of students is extremely important so that they're focused on what they need to do. We've received many flyers and pamphlets and brochures that we're able to publish and have visible Operation Our Town phone numbers so that students know who to contact if they need a problem or if they want to turn in a push or turn in a pusher. So that they have some resources that are available to them. So we've received a lot of help that way.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And tell me, you deal with several different age groups in these school districts. What age does the process start and how does it develop as it goes along?
We have drug and alcohol education throughout our school system. The intensity of it varies from different levels, and it's age appropriate. With our elementary school children, it would focus a lot on the awareness of what's going on and who they can start to go to for help. It mostly might involve assemblies and bringing in speakers and incorporating it into generally in the curriculum. It becomes a little more specific then in the upper elementary grade levels into the middle school level where we get into more of a formalized curriculum that's delivered. And then on the high school level, it's a lot more intense at Bellwood, which is my perspective now, since I was the director of, or I'm currently the director of curriculum there prior to my next move. Our extensive drug and alcohol education is in 9th and 11th grade. Also, we have student assistance programs that with our elementary principal and others, we've been able to start in the elementary school and move that student assistance program up through all the grade levels in our school system.
Wow. Would you ever sense, especially in the younger ages, a kind of disbelief that it could happen here?
Unfortunately, my answer to that is no. One of the things that is really starting to trouble me right now that I don't know how to deal with in an educational system is when parents are abusing drugs and their children see this and know that it's wrong. So I can't be here today to just paint a rosy picture of what's going on in our school systems. One of the questions we had talked about before was, what problems do you see going on in your school? And my response was, what problems are going on in society? Because if those problems are going on in society, they're going on in our schools as well. And the thing that really breaks my heart is when we have elementary school children confiding in our teachers and significant adults that they know something wrong is going on in their home. And that's good because we're reaching the children, but it's also sad at the same time.
I can imagine. Tell me specifically about the Make Our Schools Safe program.
That's a program that's an internet-based program that has been recently developed so that if students would want to contact an adult in a school system because they're having some difficulty, primarily with bullying or some other type of activity where they might be afraid to report it, they can report it through this internet-based system with a school district.
So this whole process of educating these young people to the dangers of life basically extends beyond just drugs. It's actually things that have to do with their daily challenges.
That's correct, because as we look at what some of our concerns are, it's not just drugs in particular or alcohol in particular. It's the self-esteem of children and getting them involved in activities so that they don't need to turn to those types of activities for some type of relief of whatever might be bothering them. Because it's much more than just a drug and alcohol issue. It becomes a personality issue, a self-esteem issue, an educational issue, a punishment issue. So it's a complicated process.
Tell me about the programs Keeping It Real and Red Ribbon Week. Have they been successful also?
Well, it's difficult to measure whether they've been successful because it's hard to get real specific data about those programs. But I was deeply involved with the Keeping It Real program, which was through Dr. Michael Heck at Penn State. And we had a cooperation between Bellwood students, Tyrone students, State College students, Hollidaysburg students, I believe, Altoona students, where they published video of different situations and solutions that students could use to get out of these situations. And we are piloting it with our middle school students, the use of that curriculum. The Red Ribbon Week is it's a public awareness time for all of us to acknowledge how important staying away from drugs and alcohol are to us. Whether that's been real significant or not, it's tough to judge, but certainly anything that goes on to make us aware and remind us, because we're saturated with drug and alcohol use that can be glorified through the media at times. So anything like Red Ribbon Week that can keep us focused on what our mission is important.
Wow. You've made me proud to be a contributor to Operation Our Town. We're really doing a lot that is not always visible to the public eye, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I feel pretty good about my contributions right now. Are there any programs that you would like to see that we don't have right now?
Well, without acting like I'm there with my money, my hand out to get money and get contributions, school districts are faced with a lot of budgetary issues that we're really going to have to prioritize. And one of the things that has been extremely beneficial to me personally and that I've seen with our students is their involvement in athletics and after-school activities, not only athletically in sports, but where you have clubs that meet after school, where you have debate teams, where you have mock trial teams, where you have after-school educational remedial programs. Those are all going to be very difficult for us to fund in the future for school districts. So the public might ask, well, what is the direct connection that you're asking for then? My argument would be that the more that we can do to have students have their self-esteem increased and increase their involvement in productive activities, the more they will not look toward drugs or alcohol for some other escape from different things that they're going through. And finances could really help us with that, to establish and continue those programs.
I guess that would really be a tragedy to have a young person who has talent but can't participate in something that allows them to expand their talent. That would disappoint me a great deal.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges that I've thought about as Operation Our Town has given us a couple questions to look at and think about would be, Dean, that my blood really gets boiling with the drug pushers, the businessmen that are out there, because we have to face the fact that's what they are. They're businessmen. A lot of these guys
Thank
that
you
make
for
these,
clarifying the difference.
Yeah, you're welcome. But a lot of these guys that are out to use drugs to make a living and make money, the really big money makers aren't addicted to drugs. They're using the social situation of other people who are turning to drugs to relieve different things that are going on in their lives to make money. And that really bothers me, and what we try to educate our students about. It's about people taking advantage of you. That's what they're doing. And we have other things in school to help you if you're experiencing problems. Don't turn to drugs or alcohol, because when you do, the problem doesn't go away. It might temporarily give you relief. But
that's a very interesting approach. These people aren't helping you. They're just people making money. They're not interested in you. They're interested in them.
That's correct.
Wow, that's an interesting way to look at it. Once these happen, how do you partner with law enforcement in your areas? That's a sensitive area, is it not?
Well, it is, because we certainly look at the rights of students whenever they're involved in any kind of a process. And there's really three parts. There's the educational component, there's the counseling component, and then there is the consequence or punishment component. And all three of those things have to work together for a system to be successful. Our law enforcement in our local area will keep us informed of things that have them concerned about the area. Particularly, one of the things that I benefited from with Operation Our Town was the influence of potential gangs in our area and what the gang symbols look like and what we could educate our staff to look for on student notebooks and in their correspondence and in our schools, so that we could combat that and address that at the first sign that we saw it. So that was a benefit.
That's terrific. Dr. Otto, you're about to embark on a new career, a little career change here, and congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
And how would you see your role change from what you're doing now to a superintendent's role?
Well, I think one of the big role changes for me that I reflect on is having the burden of walking the walk and talking the talk of what you want others to do. You know, you're viewed as a role model for others to try to address what you expect them to do. So you're really leading those changes. You're leading those educational efforts. Where now in my current role is to support our superintendent and what his goals are. So now I'm going to be one of the people working with the school board to put those goals together and try to carry those out. So,
well, my brain tells me to wish you good luck, but my brain also tells me that you're obviously very prepared for that role, and I wish you great success. I'm sure you're going to be successful. What can the children do to protect themselves? You're in the school district and you're just a small child here, and you're surrounded by this stuff. What can you do to protect yourself?
Yeah. Well, I think they have to feel secure that they can talk to people whenever they want to talk about anything. They need to be able to set goals, even at a young age, about what is important to them, and let adults, teachers, administrators know what those goals are so that we can help them with those. I think if we can help young students have that kind of focus, that'll help them say no when they're in different situations, because drugs or alcohol can interfere where they want to go. Now, one of the good parts of keeping it real was that there were specific strategies developed where students modeled them to be shown on videotape to other students of how to get out of tough situations. It was really neat. I mean, there's things about having make-believe alcohol in a cup so that you fit into the situation. There were just countless examples of, they even had some kind of a drug and alcohol escape kit that they could take with them to try to fit into a situation temporarily until they got themselves out of it. So I don't know how much financially Operation Our Town contributed to that Keeping It Real project, but that was a neat experience.
It was a major project, and like I said, we're thankful of all of our supporters for allowing us to do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
How prevalent is the information that these young people need, like phone numbers, for example, who to talk to? You mentioned that they need to talk to people. Is that made readily available to them all the time?
Well, at Bellwood Annis, it really is. We even have the phone numbers posted on our electronic marquee that flash up periodically so that you can be driving by or walking by and see those. We have the blue and gold stakes with signs on them that you can put in the ground, and they're posted throughout the community. So Operation Our Town has helped get that kind of information out. We have pamphlets throughout the school district with help numbers, Operation Our Town help numbers. That's on the high school desks, or not desks, the counters when you go in, and the attendance office counters. So those items are all displayed visually and in pamphlet form throughout the district.
Thank you, Dr. Otto.
All right.
In a moment, I'm going to be talking to Dr. David Crumrine, and I hope you're going to stay with us. Thank you.
Overlooking the city of Altoona, the Booker T. Washington Park had lost its luster. With that in mind, Operation Our Town and the Central Blair Recreation and Park Commission, in collaboration with the NAACP, set out to give back to the community.
The court was in bad shape. It needed some new backboards, rims. There was cracks. There was grass growing up onto the court itself.
New additions to the park will include a renovated basketball court, playground for families and friends, fitness stations, and a walking path.
I can't wait till everything is done so I can bring my grandkid to play in the playground.
Kids can use it for whatever their imagination brings them.
Members of the community already have noticed a difference.
Stuff for the kid to do to keep him out of trouble.
I'm here with Dr. David Crumrine. Dr. David Crumrine is principal of the Central High School in the Spring Cove Area School District. Dr. Crumrine, I must confess that I'm most familiar with your school district because they've been a leader in technology, but have you also been a leader in the fight against drug abuse and the challenges young people face?
I hope we have been. I have been very blessed by the opportunity to work with Dr. Otto and Dr. Toth and the whole Operation Our Town, and there's a lot of good people taking a stand in this issue, and we're proud to be part of that as well.
What programs and services specifically has Operation Our Town given to your school?
First and foremost, I think the opportunity to be part of Operation Our Town has meant that we have the opportunity, or we have the chance, to be part of the bigger umbrella, and it's been a big impetus to a lot of the things we've been doing. We've always been, and always tried to get across to our students, an anti-drug and crime and anti-gang message. But the ability to sit in on these roundtable discussions helps us to know that there's a coordinated effort, that a lot of people are working on it, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel a lot of times with the different programs that we're trying to use with our students. A lot of times for kids, when they don't hear any message, that's the same as hearing that it's okay. So the meetings that we're able to go to and the materials we get from Operation Our Town give us the opportunity to help spread that message that we're taking a stand against this, and it's a coordinated communication to the students.
That was an interesting statement, that no information is like an implied yes.
Absolutely.
So if I'm a parent out there and I have young people or children living it's absolutely imperative that I give them the message I want them to hear.
Absolutely it is. You know, kids talk a lot about they don't want to be nagged anymore, they don't want to hear it, they've heard it enough. They need to hear it all the time. Just like a kid needs to hear that their parents or that somebody cares about them and loves them, they need to hear repeatedly that this is okay, this is not okay. And this drug message certainly falls into that category. They need to hear again and again and again, it's not okay.
If these young people don't want to be nagged, they never want to get married.
I will refrain from commenting on that.
A good answer from a married man. Now, tell me about the program and how it works through the school system. I mean, these children now start at like preschool, and where does the drug program start? Where does this information come from?
I'm going to speak mostly to the high school level because that's what I'm most familiar with. I know within the Spring Cove School District, they start with an anti-drug message kindergarten and even before. And a lot of, as Dr. Otto was saying, a lot of the information and brochures that Operation Our Town provides is essential in getting that information out to them. So in the elementary schools, I know that they talk to kids a lot about keeping themselves safe, not just from illegal drugs, but also from any drugs that they might find in their home. As they get older, that message shifts to making good decisions for themselves and keeping themselves safe in regard to their peers and with more of the illegal drugs. So we benefit from Operation Our Town a lot through the brochures, and as I said, just the support we get from knowing that we're not the only ones out there trying to pitch this anti-drug message.
That's wonderful. Kind of like an umbrella that gives the young people something to get under. How about the Make My School Safe program specifically?
That's one we're in the process of investigating. We're moving slowly to make sure we can implement it correctly. Again, it'll just be an opportunity for students who are expressing some concerns to let us know what those concerns are, be they their individual concerns, be they concerns about what some other students are doing. But it would take advantage of the technology and the communication devices that the young people are using and give them a chance to give a cry for help.
You mentioned technology, and I said earlier that I know that Spring Cove Area School District has been a leader in technology. Now, if I'm in one of those classrooms and I have a laptop computer in front of me, are there limitations for example, could I get on a drug site from my classroom? We
carefully try to monitor which sites students are going to. If it's a legitimate research site, the students will have access, and we have a lot of teachers doing projects in those areas where students are researching symptoms and possible ways to go to try to combat those kind of issues. But as far as some of the sites that are out there that encourage kids to try these new legal types of it was K-12 and some of the other products that are coming along, we do our best to make sure they're staying away from those sites.
Well, that's true. The challenges to the school districts must be overwhelming sometimes.
It really is. And again, that's why we appreciate the partnership efforts that we get from being part of a group like Operation Our Town. As the economy continues to be the way it is, as the budgets continue to be the way they are, and as we begin to see more and more of those problems crop up in families and have less and less funds to deal with them, it's a great advantage to be able to talk to other school districts that are trying to do the same. Not just school districts, but the whole bigger, as you said, umbrella that's Operation Our Town.
That's really terrific. How about the program specifically, Keeping It Real and Red Ribbon Week?
I can't speak much to Keeping It Real. We've not been really involved in that, but Red Ribbon Week has been a big part of our anti-drug efforts for a number of years. And through our guidance department, they do a great job in organizing different activities. Operation Our Town was very instrumental in providing a lot of the information and the actual red ribbons for the kids who wanted to make a statement that they're drug-free, and also in lining up some corporate sponsors to give those kids that were making that statement some kind of financial benefit for being brave enough to come out and say, hey, I'm drug-free and I'm proud of it.
This partnership between businesses and the educational community is a relatively new thing, and it sounds like it really is the way to go.
It absolutely is. It's an old saying that it takes a village to educate a child or to raise a child, and that's absolutely true. There are things that we in schools have been trained and have a chance to influence, but there are also a lot of things that businessmen and women and even grandparents who might not be businessmen can still do to help raise where we want kids to be.
That's true. Too often we think, well, $1 doesn't make a difference or $5 doesn't make a difference, but it really must make a difference out there.
It adds up, and programs, I heard you talking with Dr. Otto about the Push Out the Pusher program, just keeping something like that available and being able to make sure that the phone number is out there is a huge benefit. People who contribute might not ever know that their contributions, and even more than money contributions, their time, the time they take to invest in encouraging kids to remain drug-free, they might not know, they might not see the results, but it's helping.
This Push Out the Pusher program, how does your school district interact with local law enforcement authorities?
We believe we've built a very productive partnership with our local police agencies. We've had 2 of our local police chiefs in at the beginning of the year to provide an in-service to our teachers on what they're seeing in the communities now and what the teachers should be looking for. And they had some paraphernalia they brought with them and said, here's the new things, this is what you should be looking for. Altoona Drug and Alcohol through the SAP program also came out and was part of that. Our police officers are always just dropping in, and we'll have them walk the halls with us sometime just to make a presence, just so that the students know that they're there and they're interested.
Dr. Crumrine, both you and Dr. Otto have direct day-to-day contact with students. Tell me about the challenges that you face out there on that day-to-day basis.
Luckily, I think most of the kids around are good kids. But like everybody else, sometimes they make poor decisions. And I think it's our responsibility, as I said earlier, to let them know what the expectations are. That getting involved with drugs, getting involved with gangs, that's not acceptable. That's not a way to become a productive member of society. And as Dr. Otto had said earlier, as the economy's going down, as more and more families are not getting the services they need, being funded through the government, schools are being asked to pick up more and more. And like I said, most kids are still good kids, but it's really sad sometimes to see the things that they're having to deal with and how well they're doing in dealing with those things.
I suspect that your challenges go beyond just the student base. You also have a staff of teachers and employees. And this is civilization, our society, and they're subject to the same challenges that young people are. Tell me about how you deal with your teaching staff and your employees in that educational process.
First and foremost, I think by trying to get to know them and by trying to have the same high expectations, or maybe even higher expectations from them that we do from our students. And we expect them to be positive role models, for the students that come before them in their classrooms.
It's interesting, several years ago they had a survey of successful business people, and they said, name the 5 people in your life that have had the greatest impact. And invariably, every one of those lists included at least one educator. And you're absolutely right. These teachers, do you think they realize how important their role is to the growth of these young people?
If they don't, I hope they find out real soon. We could sit here and talk a lot about testing and academic challenges and all that, but I agree with you. I think the most important thing they're doing in the classroom is teaching kids to be productive citizens and how to cope with a lot of these, or to give them at least a role model for somebody on how to deal with a lot of these things.
Role models are so important today.
Then it doesn't have to be a teacher. I mean, we were talking earlier about what can people do, and be a role model. You know, and being a role model isn't one of those things that you can get up in the morning and say, I'm going to be a role model for this student. Being a role model is about doing the right thing in your life and not being ashamed to let other people see you do the right things and say the right things.
That's a challenge sometimes.
It sure is.
Peer pressure alone. Sometimes you say, you know, should I really do this? But apparently what you're saying is that our teaching profession today is stepping forward and playing that role.
The teachers I know, the teachers that I'm familiar with, take very seriously that obligation to be a role model for their students.
It's very gratifying, because the challenges we face every day, and the challenges young people face every day,
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. Thank you very much. In a few
Sure.
moments, we're going to come back with both of our educators and talk about some general questions. Thank you.
Operation Our Town is reaching out into our community every day, helping groups like the Gloria Gates Foundation. They received a grant in 2009 from Operation Our Town to help fund their program, which was established more than 10 years ago.
We now have children who've gone through our program and are out of high school, and they're young adults, and they're coming back and they're telling us the impact our after-school program had on them. So we know that we are reaching the kids.
The Gloria Gates Foundation prides itself on teaching the children lessons that will stay with them throughout their life.
When things get better in their life and they look back, then sometimes we get a note and say, I remember what you tried to teach me, thank you.
Operation Our Town, creating community-minded citizens for a better tomorrow.
I'd like to welcome back Dr. Thomas Otto and Dr. David Crumrine. And now we're going to discuss some of the challenges and some of the things that these gentlemen see on an everyday basis. Let's start with Dr. Crumrine. Dr. Crumrine, you must have had some personal experiences with hopefully some success stories in your school district. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, without naming names.
We don't want to embarrass anybody.
Yeah. But it's every year. Every year there are students who never reach their full potential because of involvement in some things that they shouldn't be involved with, and we count it as a great victory when we're able to make some sense to a student, or we see a student who've gotten some help through some of our student assistance programs or through some programs someplace that are able to start making wise decisions and turn themselves around. I've always said my favorite day of the year is commencement day, when I get to see those students walk across the platform and receive their diploma. And a lot of times the ones I really enjoy are the ones that when they were freshmen and sophomores were making decisions that I really worried about whether they were going to make it to that day 4 years later. But every year we do have some who turn themselves around.
Wow. Dr. Otto?
Thinking about it while you were talking to Dr. Crumrine there, I think I've witnessed and been a part of maybe like the whole spectrum of ages and success stories. One that I'm thinking of was a young girl was trying to, I think, seek some help and to let her friends know that she thought something wrong was going on in her home. and her friends didn't believe her, so she brought home, or she brought to school a type of drug paraphernalia to prove that that was actually going on in her home. So it's really sad that it's going on in the home, but it's a success that the student knows that it was wrong. So that makes me think that we're doing some good things in our educational system with our students, that sometimes the problem is with parents who need to assume more of a responsibility for their children. On the other hand, we have some students that I've been involved with that were identified because of our random drug testing program that we had. And they were able to come forward with why they got involved in these things. So a punishment approach was not used, but a counseling and therapeutic approach was then able to be used. So there's, I guess I'm pretty old, but there's a whole realm of experiences that I'm sure Dave and I could talk about that we've been involved with as administrators in all districts and teachers in all districts have been involved with.
A couple weeks ago, I met a young man, quite frankly, the first young man I'd ever met in my life with this particular history. He'd been a drug user, he'd been arrested, he was rehabilitated, and he was now leading the fight to keep other people off of drugs. A fine young man, and it led me, our discussion of how he got caught, and I will ask you a question about getting caught. Drug sniffing dogs in the school district. Occasionally I hear about that, but I frankly don't understand it. Dr. Otto, can you tell us, does that happen, and do you use drug sniffing dogs?
Oh yeah, certainly it's happened. It happens. One is you can use it as a prevention, meaning that you want students, all the employees in your district, all the students in your district to understand that periodically drug dogs will come in with trainers, the school will be locked down, and the dogs will be not turned loose, but they're kept on a leash with their trainer. And the state police officers, it's really fascinating to watch.
It's a tremendous experience.
I mean, these dogs are so focused on trying to find drugs, and there's bomb sniffing dogs too, whatever they're trained to do, that they will paw a locker whenever they think there might be something there, and then the administrators mark the locker to come back later and search these. And their senses are so keen that many times we have searched the locker, the neighboring lockers, and found no drugs whatsoever, but some student may have been at a party the night before where just the smoking of marijuana left that smell on a coat, and those dogs picked it up.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've had a situation where drug dogs have hit on library books. Now, obviously, there's no drugs in the books. It's just as Dr. Otto was saying, that they've been around people that had that smell.
Do you get resistance, Dr. Crumrine, do parents ever resist this kind of and consider it an intrusion?
We've never heard that. We try to average every other year with the drug dogs coming in, and all the response we've ever had has been very positive.
Wonderful. How about you, Dr. Otto?
No, I can't recall one situation that I've been involved with where we've had any resistance to that at all. Parents have been very thankful. If I could go back to the smell on this coat, it becomes incumbent then upon the administrator to contact the parent of the student to let them know what was going on. And the parent said, is that right? Well, let me have a conversation with my son or daughter tonight to find out what's going on. So, no, I mean, the parents have been very supportive of anything that we can do to help their children.
Isn't that the best kind of reaction, though, when parents... How do parents get involved? And tell me about your relationship with the parents in all these programs, Dr. Crumrine.
Parents are as different as the different kids. Most parents that I've had experience with have been very supportive, and they've wanted to know. They've wanted to know that the drug dog hit on the locker next to their child. And even though we don't suspect their child, they appreciated the heads up that maybe I need to have a talk with my child. Maybe the drug dog hit on a particular car. Oh, he hit on my son's car? We'll definitely be having a talk. We had a situation several years ago where we were able to stop a major dealer within the building, and in his pocket we found a list of 15 people who owed him money. And we contacted each parent, and they were all very, very thankful that we had talked to them, and they had the opportunity to talk to their students about why their names were showing up on a list like that.
Was this person a student who had the
Yes.
list? A student.
Yes.
Even in high school, already it elevated to that level
Yes.
of dealing. And Dr. Otto, how about?
Yeah, I think some of the things that I've thought about have been the unconditional love that parents can show their children. And love can be tough sometimes. So part of that love, I think, is a very concrete approach in conversations that parents need to have with their children. For example, I need you to understand that if you break this type of rule, that this is going to be taken away. You're going to go to counseling. You will be in rehab. You will do whatever. Frank's stories where, I don't know if you're aware that if a student is on drugs, do you know what a really good drug institute costs to help kids?
I have no idea.
Thousands of dollars
Tens
a
of
month.
thousands. Yeah.
Wow.
And their recommendation is that that person doesn't return to the place where they started drugs. I mean, the consequences of getting involved in drugs are just very expensive and terrible. So if parents can have those conversations and love their children and get them involved in activities that increase their self-esteem so that they can combat the opportunities that come up, along with letting them know that if I suspect or if you try something, I'm not going to ignore it. This is what's going to happen to you. This is going to be the consequence, and we're going to follow these steps, and you follow through with it. I think kids want to know that their parents are involved like that.
And they want to know that there's boundaries. They want to be told, this is how far you can go and no further.
As a person who has been so far removed from middle age that I no longer have to ask for a senior discount, tell me about the grandparents' role in all. Do you ever have bypass the parents, or the grandparents ever get involved?
Legally, we deal with whoever is listed as the guardian. But yes, we have a lot of situations where the grandparents are, as many good parents as we have who are trying to do the right thing, we also have a number of parents who have, because of their own problems, because of their own economic situation, have given up that role. And the grandparents that I'm familiar with have stepped up to fulfill that role in a lot of situations. So yes, to give you a simple answer, yes.
Dr. Otto?
I concur 100% with what Dave has talked about, because oftentimes the grandparents will come in and sit down and explain to us, administrators, or the person that they can be confidential with, the challenges that their adult child is facing. And oftentimes, sadly, it's about drug and alcohol use. And so the grandparents are trying to not only help their adult children, but help their grandchildren. Statistically, can I tell you that it's increased over the X number of years? I can't do that, but I can just say that it is a prevalent situation.
It sounds like we've got these young people started at a very young age in drug education, and we've done our best to educate the parents, and now the grandparents. It's really a family unit that needs to work on this. It can't be any one person's responsibility.
No.
Right.
It has to be our responsibility, society, the family, and of course, Operation Our Town's trying to play that role to bring all those groups together.
Absolutely.
Let's be back in just a minute to sum up. Thank you. Ready? Welcome back. We've been talking today with Dr. Thomas Otto and Dr. David Crumrine, and it's been a very fascinating discussion for me to learn more about our educational system and how it plays out in this terrific fight that our society has against drugs and drug use. And we've actually expanded to bullying and other family situations. So let's start with Dr. Otto. If you could change one thing today, is there one thing that you would really like to be able to do more about, or anything that you feel?
You mean change in the educational system or the battle against drugs?
Anything you'd like to I mean, you see the world view from a lot of different economic perspectives and a lot of different family situations. Is there anything you say, boy, if I could just change that, it would make a difference?
Well, it may not be a popular answer, but I would like to see schools that are given so much responsibility, the opportunities to carry out what people are asking us to do. That might mean financing a longer school day so that we can have increased activities after school for children. It might be increasing the length of the school year or adjusting the school year calendar so that children are with us more, because not only are we facing the societal challenges of being a productive member of society, we have learning challenges that, quite frankly, our educational system does not have the hours in the day or the number of days in the school year that other countries do, that we are being compared against and challenged with meeting those standards. The same part of that is, I think we need more teachers than less teachers. I think teachers need to be involved in more planning time than actual time in front of their students, so that they can give the best lessons possible. So that question, I'm sorry, it's obvious. I think I've given it a lot of thought, and I just don't know when our society is going to be ready to address those issues.
I want to share a second to that, but at first I want to hear from Dr.
I was just going to try to build on what Tom was saying. I think we need to stop pretending that the only thing that matters are their test scores, and start acknowledging through time, through resources, through the way we structure our day and our school year, that the whole child, the whole student is what's important, and we need to have programs and we need to do things to help all students where their individual needs are.
I must tell you, as an outsider, you are absolutely correct. It seems to me that our teachers are powerless to do. When I was going to school, if we got out of line, you were corrected and disciplined by a teacher directly and immediately.
And then at home again for being...
And at home again.
Yes.
And today I hear phrases like, we can't do that, we can't say that, we can't challenge the young people. I've even talked to people who have taught, or at least temporarily taught, and they said, children put their heads down in their desk, and I am powerless to do anything about it. That has to be very frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that has come about because of so much pressure being placed on school systems, from the board to administrators to teachers and to students, that we don't realize the power that we have to make that student get their head up. And it's all about building relationships. It's all about building, to talk to that student and to find out why do you have your head down. I need to call your parent tonight to find out why you have your head down. But we need to have those teachers feel that they do have the power to do that, and they will be supported to do that. And they need time to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge must be overwhelming. Like I said, you hear these stories, and society is not without some guilt. I don't know how many students graduated, but I know the record of the football team. You know, I know who played basketball, but I don't know who the valedictorian was. And so society has to share a little bit of blame for that.
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting to have all of your 11th graders seated at desks on the football field and the stands filled with people yelling, "You can do it on the PSSA, go, get question number 2 right, come on everybody, get question," you know, where their children
I'm getting
cheering
this,
for them.
this picture now that I'm not going to be able to get out of my mind. Thank you.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, like I said, as an outsider, I admire everything that's happening in our educational system. I am in awe of what you're able to do with what you have. But I am also frightened that maybe we're not doing enough. And as a society, I go back to Operation Our Town. Okay, a group of people coming together and saying, this is a problem the school districts are facing. They're not getting enough funding. It's not getting enough attention because, quite frankly, they don't have the time to do it. So we're going to put this material together. We're going to supply you with this information. We're going to help you by putting an umbrella out there that young people watching at home on television say, oh, push out the pushers. I know what that program is. That phone number's in my school. So it is a challenge for all of us. It really is. How long have you been in the teaching profession, Dr. Crumrine?
This is my 32nd year.
32 years. And you, Dr. Otto?
This is my 33rd year.
Wow.
And I wanted to echo our thanks
Absolutely.
for Operation Our Town and what they've done. The program, when Altoona in the area was having this gang issue, and that we were exposed to see what the latest symbols were and what they meant, and that different organizations were starting to infiltrate our area, helped us tremendously. The money that they've given us for our after-school programs, where we could help students academically, are extremely important. And then the model of the businessmen coming together to help the police force and the police in the area could be a model to be fostered and developed to help schools in the future in other areas.
And it's a great reinforcement too, as we were saying earlier, that people can be a role model even if they don't see the results. Well, schools fall into that too. Sometimes because we don't see the hard evidence, or maybe we don't see that a kid has turned it around, sometimes maybe the school will start to say, well, maybe our time can be better used someplace else. And being part of this organization and sitting down at a table with Tom and people from other schools, and I hear what their problems are, and I see where their successes are. Tom was talking about a pep rally for the PSSA. Operation Our Town becomes a pep rally for the schools too, to continue to do the things that they're doing.
That's terrific. Like I said, the opportunities, and you mentioned role models. I mean, I feel certain that outside the home, in many cases, the teachers, the educators these young people have may be their best role model.
Great point.
Is that possible?
That's an excellent point, yes.
I'd like to call our viewers' attention to the fact that you can contact the Altoona hotline at 946-9050 and the Push Out the Pusher hotline at 693-3020. And if you have any organizations and want to become partners with Operation Our Town, apply for grants, volunteer, donate time, and volunteer is a big part of this. And I would like to thank Dr. Crumrine and Dr. Otto and wish you, the challenge that you have. I want you to have the greatest success in the world because your success will be the success of our society. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Doctor.
All right.
Thank you.